The Oscar goes to American Beauty.
This is the first Oscar nomination for both Bruce Cohen and Dan Jinks.
You want to see the most beautiful thing I've ever filmed?
American Beauty is a film that will get you up and moving, but also get you to slow down.
To my house.
American Beauty was an original story with an iconic cinematographer and a TV show director making his film directorial debut. When Steven Spielberg, head of DreamWorks at the time, first saw the film, he said, "You've made a classic movie here." To understand the film, let's talk about the time it was made, the 1990s. During the 90s, culture began shifting away from the highlighted party shenanigans of the 80s into much darker territory. The introduction of grunge and gangster rap painted America in a much different light, as it showcased parts of society written with crime, poverty, and drugs. In television, the rise of the anti-hero took ground, giving villainous characters more dimension, making them someone to root for due to their unfortunate circumstances. Heading towards the later 1990s, media portrayals of the future felt a lot more grim and doomed. Their idea of the new millennium was scary, not just because of the Y2K scare, but in general society did not look so promising. Disaster events and catastrophes raided everyone's television constantly. Films also reflected that. Films envisioned a dystopian future, causing viewers to seek inward reflection on existential meaning. Movies like The Truman Show, Ghost in the Shell, Dark City, Fight Club, What Dreams May Come, The Matrix, and many others got viewers reflecting. Today I want to talk about a film called American Beauty. Although not talked about today in high regards, Kevin Spacey in the 90s was that guy. Starring in movies like The Usual Suspects, LA Confidential, and Seven, Kevin made a name for himself for the odd characters that he portrayed. And in the film American Beauty, he did not disappoint, winning an Academy Award for Best Actor in 2000. When the film is discussed, it's often mentioned for its critique on society, the suburbs, and the mundane portrayal of American life. That, and this scene. But before all this, let's talk about the characters in the film. Lester Burnham is in the center of our film. He begins as the narrator, but then we see a glimpse of his life. He's a 42-year-old media executive going through the typical motions of a man of his age. Living in the suburbs, his life appears uneventful. He has a family, a wife Carolyn, and a teenage daughter Jane. His life seems stable but unfulfilling. And unfulfillment is a common theme we will see throughout the film. Lester is depressed. He hits a breaking point and decides to turn his life upside down. He begins to fantasize about his daughter's friend Angela in a romantic way. This causes him to put things into action, and while doing so, his midlife crisis affects everyone around him. Starting with Lester's wife, Carolyn. Carolyn is a real estate agent with a go-getter mentality. She's work-driven, highly competitive, and just wants to climb the corporate ladder. Not even late in the film we realize how broken she is deep down inside, as she struggles to sell a house, constantly comparing herself to the competition. She holds it in though, up until when Lester begins to change his life. By doing so, their marriage begins to unveil the ugly taboos, and she begins to fantasize about someone else. And she also has an affair. And in the middle of all this is Jane, the Burnhams' teenage daughter. Jane's a typical teenager going through the angst, the insecurities, and the desires. She feels unseen and alone. She hates how her father Lester doesn't pay attention to her and instead looks interested in her friend Angela. She finds it disgusting and begins to hate him. Lester knows Jane is going through changes being a teenager. He doesn't know how to connect with her, but honestly doesn't bother trying. Jane eventually finds comfort in Ricky, the new neighbor boy from school. But more about him later. Angela Hayes is Jane's superficial friend. We first see her at a halftime show as she and Jane perform. The Burnhams go to see Jane, but Lester puts his focus on Angela. And she loves it too. Angela is honestly more insecure than Jane, and she overcompensates with her beauty. She seeks validation by putting others down. She boasts about her mature experiences so that others would find her cool. And let's not forget about this iconic line.
Yeah, well, at least I'm not ugly.
Lastly, we have the neighbor, Ricky. Ricky's the boy next door who records everything, and it's kinda weird. But throughout the film we realize that out of all these characters, he's actually the most comfortable with who he is. He becomes friends with Lester, being his dealer, and gets close with Jane. She doesn't fully relate with him, but knows that he's an outsider. And that brings her comfort, feeling like she's an outsider herself. Ricky has a dark past and finds beauty in life. But deep down inside, he's seeking approval from his military father. It's interesting how Lester's midlife crisis is mixed with all these characters. Lester's dark humorous tone carries the whole film. He's done living life like a bystander and disrupts everyone else's life because of it. He also rearranges their perspectives, causing them to also reprioritize life's values. He quits his job and speaks up about the corruption going on there. He starts smoking and working out to get in better shape. And he goes off on his wife, telling her the truth about the relationship, and overall, he appears to be happier for it. American Beauty shows society how the American dream doesn't really feel like something worth dreaming about. The white picket fence facade doesn't mean a lot if the family unit isn't so stable. It's as if in America, to appear like something may be more important than to be something. And collectively, we all add to it. The suburbs lay right in the middle between poverty and upper wealth. To live here, you're not struggling nor thriving lavishly. You're at a good point, but the houses all look the same, the chase for careers is all the same, and the people, they all kind of look and act the same. You don't have the pains of being poor, but you're not living better than anyone else. You feel bad for feeling bad because others have it worse than you, but to seek more funnels you into the materialistic rabbit hole that is the American dream. We find ourselves chasing something that we don't even want, and just because it feels normal or safe. But to feel normal and safe is a universal desire. Looking at Jane's character, wanting to feel normal is a basic teenage motive, and to be insecure is as well. With Jane, it appears that beauty standards are what drives her to feel discomfort, because from her perspective, beauty gives you the ideal life. Angela also values beauty as a high priority, thinking that this is what people will value her for. Carolyn, on the other hand, is also aiming to be normal, but her idea of normal has been tainted to the environment around her. From Carolyn's perspective, wealth and success is the ideal life, and that's because she's placed herself around where that is valued. Ricky's also chasing normality with his relationship with his father. He wants to be accepted, but always comes short. And throughout all this, it feels like Lester, out of all characters, has seen beyond all this, finding inner beauty outside of society's standards. It's interesting that the color red feels like a reoccurring theme in the film. The red rose is often associated with Angela for her beauty, perhaps framing her as the American beauty. Look at the cover. Comparing her to Jane, there's a different spotlight. Maybe blondes do have more fun in the eyes of America. The red on the door, the red dress, the red roses around the house placed by Carolyn, the red blood. The color red just takes various meanings around the film, being a symbol of love, youth, and innocence, but also a symbol of passion, anger, and lust. And all of these don't seem to be good or bad, but are important because it's something that the director wants us to pick up on. Perhaps it's to showcase the various emotions that life brings. Towards the end of the film, Lester finally gets a chance to be with Angela. There's an opportunity for romance. And when Lester's about to go for the kill, he realizes that Angela is still in fact a virgin, and he changes his whole perspective. Angela still hasn't lived life. If he were to pursue her in this way, it will change the direction of her life. Lester realizes that Angela is not mature, but that's okay, and she shouldn't be mature in that time of her life. And with him, he was trying to live in his past life. He was trying to get a girl much younger than him, while Angela was trying to live in the future, and she was trying to act more mature. The stresses in your life either happen because you're thinking too much of the future, or you're thinking too much in the past. Lester assured Angela that it was okay to be her at that very moment, that it's okay to be just who you are, and that you don't have to change or you don't have to try to impress anyone. The trash bag scene at first watch felt like it was kind of trying to be a little too deep, with little real value. But I think it's to show how life looks from overhead. Life will carry you around like the wind does to the bag, and the wind can be American Beauty standards, materialistic standards, sexual normative standards, or performance standards. And these things in life push us in different directions. Towards the end of the film, Lester narrates again and says, "I guess I could be pretty pissed off about what happened to me, but it's hard to stay mad when there's so much beauty in the world. Sometimes I feel like I'm seeing it all at once, and it's too much. My heart fills up like a balloon that's about to burst. And then I remember to relax and stop trying to hold on to it. And then it flows through me like rain, and I can't feel anything but gratitude for every single moment of my stupid little life. You have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm sure, but don't worry, you will someday." To me, American Beauty is to be alive, and to live a life that changes all the time, and the beauty to be able to see it all and be okay with it all. Thank you all for watching.